We talked about lymphatics and why they're important. Now let's talk more about immunity. And oh, look at here, sunny local Hawaii and this lovely, beautiful body of water. So why shouldn't you swim here? I mean, you might see people like enjoying themselves in this nice, sunny, beautiful canal right here. But why shouldn't you, even though people can paddle and canoe race here, why shouldn't you just take a dip in here? And I'll cover that hopefully by this lecture. Yeah, the alawai. So here are learning goals and key points. Yeah, so here's like so here are our key learning goals and quick question. So true or false? Your immune system only consists of antibodies and immune cells. All right, let's see what people said. And most of you said false, and most of you are correct. Yeah, it's more than just your antibodies and immune cells. Two very important parts, but there is more to your immune system. So with your immune system, what we have are, so let's talk about pathogens. So patho, again, is that useful root word or prefix meaning something regarding disease or suffering. Now, pathogen is something that can cause disease. So many things, it's not just bacteria, it includes viruses, bacteria, but even things like fungi and parasites, and even prions, which we don't really talk about in this class, but you might encounter in other classes. But what we have here are our immune cells, and we have our T cells, B cells, and NK cells. Again, all very, very important. But innate immunity, so this is non-specific protection against pathogens. So if you have a normal immune system, everybody should have some sort of innate immunity in general against pathogens that are foreign to your body. So innate immunity are things that you are born with. These are hard-coded into your genes and your genome and your proteins. You can produce all the things that are involved in innate immunity. Whereas adaptive immunity are defenses that you aren't born with, but you accumulate during your lifetime. Again, some people don't like this designation, but I like to think of it this way. I like to draw an analogy between this and like your computer or your phone. Innate immunity is like the software already on your phone when you first get it and it's new. But adaptive immunity is like the software you install as you like, oh, I need a word processor. Oh, I need a graphics program. I need vector images. I need something to program my JavaScript or my Python scripts with. So those things you add to your operating system the apps are your adaptive immunity. Innate immunity is what comes prepackaged from the start. Now back to our alawai. So why shouldn't you swim here? And I think this was like back in 2020, like when everyone was just going crazy with lockdowns. And then this guy, so back in 2006, this guy who fell into polluted alawai. So organ failure due to bacterial infection. So there's so much bacteria in there. So that's why, and this is like, and looking at one of the gut bacteria, this is what the species or genus of bacteria is. And over here, right, the small green stripe right here, that's the safe limit. So what they're looking is like, these spikes are the bacterial count consistently above the safe limit for all these bacteria. And this is different parts of that alawai canal. So again, it's the water, it looks fun. People like paddling in it, but it's dangerous, especially if you swallow it because it's way above safe normal limits. So this is also where we have to talk about one of our innate immune defenses, our skin. And you might be like, wait, isn't the skin the part of the integumentary system? Yeah, it's also one of their first line of defenses against your environment. So if anything breaks your skin, it has an easy way of accessing inside your tissues and your circulatory system and all the things like your bacteria. They love the insides of your body and all the nutrients and everything it can obtain from there. So yeah, this is why skin is a part of your innate immune system. So it's more than just about cells like B and T lymphocytes and also NK cells. Skin is part of your barrier. And if you remember all the way back from AMP1, that we have different layers of our skin. We have our epidermis, which has those 4 or 5 layers. And we have things like keratin that help to form a harder layer, and then we have all immune cells like our Langerhans cells and everything else. And then this is why if you, and this, well, COVID is more about aerosol transmission than contact transmission, but still a good idea to wash your hands and keep things pretty and disinfect your hands, especially if you're going to eat or touch your face. But in the early days of the pandemic, what were some people doing? They were overdoing it, and they were using so much hand sanitizer. They were kind of stripping all the oils and causing degradation of this barrier in our skin as well. So sometimes people were developing cracks in their skin because they were just like dehydrating and stripping all the membranes and lipids in their skin. So what's the problem with that? You're disinfecting it, but now any sort of bacteria or pathogens, they can find their way into past your skin, past that initial layer of defense, and maybe around these blood vessels or all these other interstitial fluids of your body. Yeah, that's why it's not good to overdo this and cause like cracks in the wall of your defenses. Now there's also things called mucosae. So here are example of mucosae. We might talk about this more when we talk about the digestive system. But it's not just about our outer external environment, but also the openings we have toward the environment as well. So like our mouth, our rectum and anus here, and also reproductive glands. So even though we're expelling things from these areas, but you can also have things that can potentially, like bacteria and pathogens, they can also enter our bodies from these areas potentially. So that's why it's important to also have immune defenses here as well. Now secretions. Secretions are things we produce from our cells and glands. So things like mucus, very important secretion, and it also contains a lot of these glycoproteins called mucins. So glyco again means sugar, and proteins, so these are proteins with sugars attached. So this is why mucus is thick, because these sugars like to hold on to water, and they also help to thicken fluids as well. So mucus is thick due to the presence of mucins. And it also has many enzymes that help to defend against pathogens, and also these antimicrobial proteins called defensins. Now tears, and you might be like, oh, tears, I just produce them when I'm sad or to keep my eyes wet. Well, they're also very important because, again, lots of bacteria, they love moist environments with any sort of nutrients. So your tears can also contain something called lysozyme. It's an antibacterial enzyme because, again, bacteria can land on your eyes all the time. But why aren't your eyes, hopefully your eyes aren't crusted with bacteria right now. But what prevents them from establishing them there and just like totally taking over the surface of your eyeballs? Well, lysozyme helps to prevent that along with mucins. So your tears are not just water. You also have some thickening to it with the mucins. Surfactants, so these are kind of like detergents, it's a different surfactant compared to the one inside your alveoli, but these detergents also help to kind of disrupt the barrier and prevent surface tension as well. And let's zoom in on mucus a little bit. So I like to think of mucus in terms of immune defenses like a sticky trap. So just like the mucus produced by the goblet cells inside your respiratory tract helps to trap all these like dirt, debris, and also pathogens, mucus is also like that. It's there to kind of like prevent these pathogens from worming their way further into your body where they're not supposed to be. So mucus is important innate immune defense because it helps to slow things down. Like, yeah, imagine this poor mouse trying to like go further in the house but stuck to a sticky trap. That's one of the purposes of mucus in your body. It helps to neutralize pathogens like we see over here. And mucins, again, glycoproteins, and so this is what the overall structure of a mucin looks like. So all of this purple part is the protein part, and the red part is all the carbohydrates that help to attract water, but also thicken that surrounding mucus as well. Secretion. So yeah, even sweat. So sweat is also a secretion, and it helps to prevent the growth of some bacteria due to its acidic pH overall. It also has high salt content. So remember, like when you have a hypertonic solution surrounding a cell, what does it do to the cell? Well, due to the high concentration of salt, it's going to suck out water from that cell. So if it's a bacterial cell you're talking about, It helps to kind of like pickle the microbes and draw out the water and prevent them from growing or possibly end up killing them. They also contain something called defensins, which are these antimicrobial proteins we'll hopefully get to cover, and dermacidins. So you have lots of enzymes in the secretions of your body. So your body produces these secretions and enzymes naturally. So these enzymes such as defensins, lysozyme, dermacidin, they're all there to help prevent pathogens from taking over and causing disease in your body. Now the defensins are very cool. So they're a type of protein, and what we have here is a membrane. And what these defenses are doing, they're kind of like integrating and worming their way in this plasma membrane. And what we have, so with the defensins going into this this membrane of a, say, bacterial cell, we'll say here. So we have this phospholipid membrane, and these defenses are actually forming this little hole in the membrane of a potential pathogen. And detergents and membranes. So why is it important to wash your hands in general in preventing disease? Well, again, our membranes contain a lot of those phospholipids, which are amphipathic, meaning that they have a hydrophobic side and a hydrophilic side. So the hydrophilic side, again, facing toward the water-based solutions inside and outside of our cell, our cytosol and extracellular fluid. But we have that hydrophobic region. The cool thing about detergents and defensins is that they're able to integrate and mix in with these membranes and disrupt these membranes. So what if this is the membrane of like a bacterium? Well, if we add these detergents and you're poking holes in this membrane, now all the contents of that bacteria or whatnot is going to spill out, and basically the bacteria kind of like ruptures and explodes. Then you don't have a living bacteria. Or even some viruses, they also have a membrane as well. If you disrupt a viral membrane, that's also going to help to neutralize and disintegrate the membrane and structure of that pathogen. Yeah, so that's why it's very important to use soap and wash your hands very well. The detergent helps to integrate with that membrane and disrupt it, causing these pathogens to pop. So that's what we have over here. And it also helps to kind of sequester some of this as well and prevent them from establishing themselves on your body as well. And yeah, so this is why you don't have to worry about this, but this is why it's also important to wash your hands, because what you're doing, you're disrupting the membranes of these pathogens so that their structure is no longer stable and that they're not able to infect and cause disease in your body. And so back to our defensins, what do they do? So again, they're doing something very similar to detergents. Now they're not like phospholipids like we see with the other detergents, but what they do is, again, they're poking little holes in the membrane of a pathogen. If you poke enough holes in the membrane of the pathogen, that's going to cause them to be exposed in the environment and also take on, in this case we have a pathogen leaking its contents outside, but also a lot of water rushing into the pathogen, causing it to swell and burst. So defenses are a really cool part of your innate immunity. And then we have other parts of the secretion, so hydrochloric acid. We'll cover more of this when we talk about the digestive system. But hydrochloric acid is also very important in denaturing proteins. So if you remember your cellular biology and how proteins, they start off as a polypeptide, but then that's the primary structure. Then you start to twist and fold it, make a secondary structure, then fold it upon itself. So it's kind of like protein origami. And then you have a final protein that's assembled. Well, denaturing is going to unravel the different structures and the properties that glue a protein together and make a 3D structure. So if you denature a bacterial or pathogenic protein, that's going to neutralize that pathogen. So it can dissolve microbes altogether, or it can inhibit growth by just like the acidic properties or this denaturing properties as well. And you find a lot of gastric acid. Hey, gastro means stomach, right? So you're going to find a lot of this is an important part. Like say you do swallow some bacteria, and hopefully you have enough gastric acid to kind of neutralize the bacteria before it can invade past your GI tract into your surrounding tissues. So yeah, you want to dissolve that bacteria so that it's not causing any sort of disease in your body. And let's see, human microbiota. I think we need to skip this because this is a potentially huge rabbit hole. But it's not just about our own cells, but also the bacteria that kind of take up residence. It's not all bacteria is bad. That's what I'm getting at here. Sometimes we have our normal bacteria and fungi that help to secrete chemicals or make things. So they're there to establish a community, but also kind of like protect you as well. So if you have some sort of pathogenic bacteria or virus and it tries to invade this community, what these good bacteria, quote unquote, do is that they help prevent the pathogenic bacteria or microbes from establishing themselves. So sometimes they crowd them out. Sometimes they have chemical defenses. Sometimes they have other defenses that impede the establishment of other microbes. So yeah, just due to their huge numbers, and it's not just on an external surface. It says you also have them in your mouth and in your GI tract and also your reproductive tract. These bacteria are very important in being part of your defenses. So back to our olive oil. Yeah, what should you do if you fall in here? So to wrap this all up, and yeah, this, even though it looks pretty in those pretty pictures, like you've seen the olive oil. So especially after it rains, you've seen it turn like brown, and it's not due to chocolate, it's due to other things. So what should you do if you fall in the olive oil canal? Don't open your mouth, because again, your mouth is an easy way for all the bacteria and pathogens and other pathogens to enter into your system. Don't touch your face, because where do you also have openings? You also have openings here, and also you want to establish it on to your eyes as well. You want to wash and shower off, because if you have any pathogenic bacteria or microbes, you want to get them off your body so that they can't worm their way inside your body. And don't paddle or don't swim in there, period. But don't paddle if you have any open sores or cuts, because again, our skin is a natural defense against pathogens. So if you have any open sores or cuts, easy way for these pathogens to enter your body.